Welcome to Every Day, a New Thought Show. I am Thor Challgren. Today I have a question for you. Could you live anywhere? I think before the pandemic began a couple of years ago, this would have been a harder question for many of us to answer because we're often creatures of comfort, of familiarity. And so if we've lived in a place for a while, unless our job takes us away, it's easy for us to imagine living in the same place all the time. I know in my experience, I have lived in Southern California for 40 plus years. I came here to go to school years ago for college. But before that, I lived in lots of different places. My dad was in the Marine Corps, so we traveled around to many different places, and I got the opportunity to live in Washington, D.C., in Hawaii, in North Carolina, in Ohio, a lot of different experiences. But for the most part, I've lived in one place for most of my adult life. And I've started to think about, especially as coming out of the pandemic, that people are now realizing that they can work remotely. More businesses are attuned to that. There's an economy where people can live other places than they actually work. So it's less hypothetical now than I think it's been before. But there's still part of us, I think, that can't easily imagine that. So today I want to ask you, is there some place that you've ever thought about living, and why didn't you do it? Maybe I know for a lot of people, a big city like New York might be one of those things where they can imagine, you know what, I'd like to try living there. Is there some place for you that's like that? And second question is, if you didn't go there, if you didn't make that move, if you can't easily imagine yourself doing it, why not? What is stopping you? Now, I know there's probably for most of us lots of practical reasons of like, well, I need a job there. I'd have to sell my house. I can't because I've got, my kids are in school. There's all sorts of reasons that we can put on why we can't do something. But what I'm interested in is having you look at that question. And it may not just be the question of could you live anywhere? It could be anything that you think of as not possible for you. And ask the question, why do I think that? And really start to drill down and go, all right, well, why do I think I couldn't, live in New York? I think it's too expensive. I don't know what I'd do with my house here. I would have to find some kind of job there. I don't know anything about the city, so I don't know where to start. All of those are points that once you write them down, now you can start to address them and go, all right, so let's look at that first one, that I don't know what I do there. So now you can actually start to address that. So this is a process where the things that are just floating around in your head, get them down onto paper and start to address them point by point, because you might find that when you start to solve those issues that you thought were just sort of unsolvable, now you find that you could live anywhere, or you could do that thing that up until now you thought wasn't possible. So is there some place that you've always wanted to live? Because maybe you could live anywhere.